Hello there everyone, Ash and Flash here, and welcome on into a very exciting LEGO Arkham Asylum video. Today, I'm so excited to share with you guys my one-on-one interview that I did with Jesper C. Nielsen. He's actually the superheroes team lead at LEGO, and he oversees both Marvel and DC, all the sets from concept all the way up to the final releases. So he's the perfect person to answer all the questions that I asked you guys to send to me to ask for the new Arkham Asylum set that launches in a few days. I actually conducted this interview in the middle of the airport because this was the only time that my schedule was going to line up with his, as well as Chris from Bricksets, who unfortunately couldn't make the interview but sent along a few questions. And I also didn't have access to any of my recording software, so I couldn't record the entire interview to show you guys. So I was actually frantically typing away all the responses and different things in a document. So some things are quotes, some things are not, just sort of getting the gist of what he said. But there are time codes and chapters if you want to hop around to the different topics of the video. There's mostly broken up into stuff about the set itself and then the minifigures. The first question that I asked was, how did this set come about? Why the decision this year to have a DC/Batman modular over continuing to do another Marvel one? And why was Arkham Asylum the first choice? He said that it started as not wanting to do another big Batmobile set. There were a few different buildings considered, but they decided to start with Arkham Asylum as it, quote, tested very well. If you didn't know, a lot of LEGO's decisions is done by market research about what are a lot of interest, and obviously Arkham Asylum is beloved and one of the most iconic locations from the Batman franchise, so it makes sense. This is a question from Chris from Brickset. Were you tempted to move away from the modular building format to create more interior space in the set, or give yourself more flexibility with the format? He said, we've never done it, with referring to Arkham Asylum. It's always been with the back open like a dollhouse, but never a modular building. It was always going to be a modular building from start to finish. So they never even considered doing something different. It was always going to be a continuation. He said, we've got a lot of villains back for DC. We're focusing on what people love. It's narrowing the scope of the franchise, but also widening it. So to explain what he's saying there, he's saying that it gave them the opportunity to return to DC characters that we haven't had in a while. And as we've seen with previous modular buildings, it opens the doors for future possibilities. Like if you just take the Falcon figure, for example, that first appeared in the Avengers Tower, he's now appeared in 2 other sets. When it comes to all the different characters with all of the heads that were just created, you may not get the torso in this set, but now that they've got the head existing, maybe there could be a Killer Croc boat chase or something like that down the line. Again, I'm just spitballing here. Where did the design of the inverted modular building come from? Were there other versions of the set? And he said that Justin Ramsden, the designer of the set, looked at all the regular modulars and realized that an inverted corner hasn't been done yet. Jesper said that it creates a nice courtyard and it feels fresh. Some of the original colors that they tried were actually light bluish gray and dark gray. They've already done gray, he said, and the reddish brown, quote, felt right. And he said it's such a LEGO choice and design. And I agree, like I just did this little mock-up that you've seen the thumbnail. Making it gray just looks really boring. It's missing something, and I think the reddish brown is just really perfect for that. And again, it's a nice little throwback to the 2006 design. I asked, why aren't there any pieces included to fix the destruction like we've seen in previous superhero modulars? He said, we never even went down that path. They wanted a building that felt worn down to have, quote, a run-down institution. It also allows you to peek in and see what's inside. When you combine it with other modulars, they'll cover up the holes, and previous destruction has always been in the front, so it made more sense for you to be able to fix that. Later on in the interview, he mentioned how this question would haunt him, and he'd keep thinking about whether or not they should have included the pieces or not to fix everything. I asked, was there anything that was cut or didn't make it into the set? He said, yes, the dream is always bigger. That's how it is. He continued on by saying that when you condense something, it actually gets better and it sharpens it a bit. I asked, how did you decide on what Easter eggs and references would be included? He said, we have a team of fanboys and it's never an issue to pick what is going to be put inside. Quote, that's the thing with the stickers. I prefer prints, but with stickers you get so much detail and storytelling. To some extent, we can do even more with stickers. There's less limitations. That's the thing with this and the Death Star. When people say that they only want prints, the issue with that is that prints cost more. I've talked about this before, but in a factory, there's only a limited amount of actual factory floor space. There's only a limited amount of machines that can print pieces. They take turns producing and printing different pieces. There's a record 65 stickers here in this set for superheroes. If all that was printed, the price, because of the production costs, would skyrocket. On top of that, it just allows them to do cute little references here and there, have different versions of things. Like I think of the sticker that's in both of the cell blocks, how one's like graffitied and scratched out. I think of the x-rays, how one, again, for the storytelling side of things, has somebody trying to sneak the spoon through the x-ray machine, helping Killer Croc escape his cell by digging out with that. So there's so many things that allows you to do storytelling that if you limit it to just prints, you're not gonna get so many references and things are gonna be omitted. I shot my shot and I asked, does the Metropolis poster mean anything? And I gestured down because I was wearing my Superman shirt. And he said, I can't answer that. And then continued to answer it. He goes, we didn't put it in for that reason. It's just world building. We're just stretching out. It's a super good question. He said that we hadn't thought of it as a potential for a preceding product. He said, quote, we have seldom done that. He went on to say that there was a Burton Batmobile promotional thing where they had the Batwing casting in the back in a shadow or something like that. I have no clue what he's talking about. I tried to look into it. If you know what he's talking about, comment down below. But I think that's really interesting that he said he was sad because they put all this work into it and no one noticed it. So I'd love it if they start including teases for future sets like that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. I asked, was a Riddler trophy ever considered? And he said he's not sure that it was ever in the set, which I think is a real shame because I know how much that would have meant to so many people. I asked, was there any consideration for a gift with purchase? There notably isn't one after the last Superheroes modulars received one. And he said this wasn't a Superheroes decision. They were not asked by the Insider's design team to create one for Arkham, unlike the other two sets where they were. So it's not Superheroes or Star Wars or Harry Potter that decides we're going to make a promo. It's actually the people in charge of the promos that run throughout the year that decide this and approach them to say, hey, I think, for Hogsmeade, it would be really great if you designed something. So for Arkham, they didn't come back. And I wonder why that is. I think that like this mock-up that I put together of just a police cruiser that in my head Two-Face has stolen and Batgirl Nightwing is chasing him down to stop him, I think would be really great. I know with the Yellow Box promos, they don't often have prints, but sometimes they do. So you just need to make new stuff for Nightwing, but Batgirl, Two-Face, it would all be reused parts, and I think that would have gone a long way. And speaking of Two-Face here, I asked, where's Two-Face? Every 2006 to 2008 era villain is here except for him. He said we had him in. He had just come out in a different SKU. We've got Two-Face and a super awesome version. He said that the Nolan one wouldn't translate well here and that Two-Face is, quote, covered in the different universe. I said I really love that piece and I would hate for them to retire that without like even coloring it in black. And he said, quote, we're not done with that piece. So that's great. I love Two-Face. Two-Face is what got me into Batman, so more of him I will never say no to. I asked, if we're focusing on that era, why choose Batwoman and have Batwing be the only new character in the set over Batgirl and Nightwing? He said Batgirl was in the 4+ set and she was available to use here, but they thought that they could do, quote, more newness with Batwoman as it's been a long time since we've touched that character. For Batwing, they tried to do something we hadn't done as well. They wanted to have a Batman-like variant while focusing on a version that specifically wasn't Batman. I asked, were there any other villains originally planned to be included? People we've never gotten, like the Mad Hatter, Scarface, and the Ventriloquist. He said, quote, no, it's always been this lineup. The one we had penciled in was Two-Face, where we were a bit in doubt if we should have him or swap someone out. I didn't even ask this, but this is what he said about Penguin. Quote, does Penguin fit in Arkham? No, but it's a tribute to all the bad guys. I like that answer. It makes sense for Penguin to be here. Again, going back to the original video game, he's one of the team leads. So I really wish that Two-Face was here just so that we could really say, hey, it is a complete tribute to all the bad guys. I asked him, how did you decide which characters got jumpsuits? He said, quote, the green really pops with Riddler and Ivy. The team was excited to be doing a new and different version of Ivy. Quote, it feels 100% classic, but also new. He said that Mr. Freeze they borrowed from the other SKU because he felt like he fits in here. I asked why bring back and introduce new versions of the capes from 2020. He He said they, quote, brought a bit of drama to it. This would be a way of doing something that would be extra displayable and add extra value to it. They thought about doing molded capes but settled on this. And the final question here from Chris from Brickset was, did you consider including any more Arkham Asylum staff, like Dr. Harleen Quinzel? He said, quote, we could have included more people. He said that more casual fans, she's more recognizable as Harley than she is in her lab coat. For a super fan, it could have added more value. And his closing thoughts about Arkham Asylum in the interview was he's said that he's excited to see how it does and how it's received. So that's what I want to leave you guys with, I think, the most here, is that if you want more DC and Batman modular buildings, because there's so much potential here, we really do need to support and help this. Because, again, it's the same thing that I said with Superman. With the mech, it's small. Obviously, it's a lot easier to ask you guys to go and support a small little mech set than dropping $300 on a modular, but it is important that that is the mindset that they're at, especially when it comes to the theme being shared with both Marvel and DC. If this underperforms compared to all the other Marvel modulars, I have a feeling that we're just going to continue to get Marvel modulars and we're not going to get any more for DC, which I think would be a very, very big shame. But what do you think of all of this? Did you find anything particularly interesting? Did you wish that I could have asked other questions? But thank you to you guys for putting me in this position that I get to even communicate and talk to LEGO about this, and for Chris from Brickset for helping put together this interview, and for Jesper for sitting down talking to me about the set for over half an hour was really awesome and crazy that I was doing that in the airport. But anyways, everyone, be sure to subscribe, turn on the bell notifications so that you don't miss out. It's Arkham week. We're doing a ton of videos to celebrate the launch of the set, but I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hope you all have a great day. We'll see you all the next one.